Have you ever wondered why hippopotami live in the water? Well, this Central African tale answers this question. This story is called The Hippopotamus and the Tortoise. Many long years ago, there lived a hippopotamus named Isentem. He was one of the largest kings in the land, second only to the elephant. And he had 7 large, beautiful, fat wives that he was very fond of. And every so often he would host huge banquets where people would come from far and wide to participate in the banquet and eat his food. A curious thing, though. Everyone knew about the hippopotamus, but no one but his wives knew his name. At one of his banquets, everyone sat down to eat, and the hippopotamus stood up, and he said, "All of you come to my banquet. You come from far and wide to eat my food, but none of you know my name. If you can't tell me my name today, you will leave without dinner." The guests were shocked. No one knew his name. It was true, but they started to guess. Zulani, Kofi, Shango? They were all wrong. So they had to leave all of the delicious food on the table, not to mention the palm wine. But before they left, Turtle stood up. "What would you do if I told you your name at the next banquet?" "Well, surely I'd be ashamed of myself. But if you could tell me my name, then my family and I would go and live in the water. Not just for today, but for the future." And everyone went home. But there were a few customs that were known in the land. Like every day, the hippopotamus and his wives went down to the river in the morning and the evening to drink and bathe and play. Tortoise knew this and was counting on it. One day, when Hippo and his wives went all the way down to the river, Tortoise dug a hole. And when they were on their way back, it was custom that the hippopotamus would walk first and his 7 wives would follow behind. On this particular day, 2 of those wives were a little further behind than the rest, and that's when Tortoise made his move. He came out of his hiding place and nuzzled himself in the hole, exposing most of his shell. But the 2 wives were laughing and talking and having a great time until one of them banged her foot on Tortoise's shell, and she cried out for her husband. "Oh, isn't that my foot?" Tortoise had a smile and went home quite happy. A short time later, a grand banquet was set up by Hippopotamus, and guests came from far and wide to participate in the banquet and eat all of the food. And once again, when all of the guests sat down, Hippopotamus stood up and said, "All of you come to my banquet. You come from far and wide to eat my food, but none of you know my name. If you don't know my name today, you will leave without dinner." The guests were shocked, and again they started to guess. Selassie? Obi? They were getting it wrong. That's when Tortoise stood up. "Promise you won't kill me or my family if I tell you your name." "I won't if you know my name. Say it." Tortoise gathered all of his confidence, and he said in a very loud voice, as loud as a turtle can, "Your name is Isentem." Hippopotamus was shocked, but the crowd erupted in cheers and clapping because Tortoise had it right. And they all sat down and began enjoying their meals, eating all of the delicious food and drinking so much palm wine they were over full. They had a grand time laughing and dancing and doing all kinds of wonderful things. But as the evening wound down, Hippopotamus had to keep his word. He gathered his family, and they all headed down to the river. And since that day, and including today, that is where you'll find hippopotamus. They stay and live in the water. The only time you'll see a hippopotamus on land is at night when they go to eat. Otherwise, they return to the water and stay there most of the day. It's a tortoise who made it so.